All right. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, morning, morning.
How you doing?
All right, man. I'm doing well. Hope you guys are doing the same.
Absolutely.
Always, brother.
That's it. That's it. All right. Today, December 11th, 2022. You're in the 411 Sports World Show. In the building today, this morning, is none other than Coy. And
What's
also,
up? What's up?
what's up, Coy? What's happening? All right. And also, the Assistant Director of Track and Field from IMG Academy, backed by popular demand. Lamont E. Thomas, Mr. Ash and Smoke Cigars himself.
Morning, good people. Morning.
All right, what's up? Hey, so today, people, this is a one topic show here. We're gonna talk about Coach Prime, aka Deion Sanders, aka former coach of Jackson State University, aka the new coach of Colorado, the University of Colorado. And so we'll get into we're going to just react to everything that's happened so far. We'll talk a little history of Coach Sanders' career and the effects of his decision of moving on to another university and what impact lies there. So yes, we have people here with football experience. We have people with coaching experience on here. Experience with the backgrounds of sports management, if you will. So everybody get ready because this is going to be an interesting conversation. And yes, it's going to be a conversation because that's what we can do. We can get on here and have a conversation about things, and hopefully it'll shed some light. And feel free to sit back and relax, enjoy your breakfast and everything. All right, here we go, gentlemen. 401 Sports World Show. All right, welcome to the show.
Oh,
Remember,
shucky. I'm on the big channel now.
uh-oh. Hey, remember, everybody, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe, hit the notification button.
Let's
Please,
go.
please do all those things for us, and share it with your family and friends and all that. The support is definitely appreciated, and we know that there's people that's already doing so. Please continue to spread the word. Does nothing but help us. And guess what? It doesn't cost anything to do it. So we're not even asking for any money out of your pocket. We're just a little bit of your time. So if you could do that for us, it's greatly appreciated. Here's an example. You see what I'm saying? Like positive review. Tell your family and friends. Follow on social media, engage with the posts, give shout outs, do all these little things. And look at that bill right there, $0. So there's always a way to help out one another. And that's what we want to do. All right, I'm done preaching today. All right. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. That's what we're gonna talk about next. But first, Coy, you want to ask Lamont something?
Yes, sir. All right, you're associated with IMG Academy. Exactly, what's the mission statement behind the academy? Because I see all the top level count, y'all like producing what I would call. I mean, obviously y'all educating kids, high school or whatever. But are y'all like say what the Euros do with soccer players, like an academy where y'all develop particular talents and grow from there?
Well, ultimately, we're a high school, okay?
Right.
Um, and we have 9 sports, and our objective is to give these kids in these 9 sports the best resources possible to be successful in their sport and get to the next level. People ask me all the time, why should I send my kid to IMG? I said, that's a valid question. I said, because there's a hefty price tag associated with coming to IMG. But we do prepare your kids for college. We get them ready athletically at a high level. They have an opportunity to work with professional coaches that have coached and or played at the college or pro level. So we give you what is expected, give you the tools that you need to be better than where you were. We give you college block classes. So your classes are set up like colleges. So a lot of times kids go off to college And they struggle that first semester because they have to adapt from being away from home and things of that nature. Well, they get all of that here. So by the time they get to college, they've already adjusted. They can live that dorm lifestyle without a problem. They can deal with athletics and sports, be able to transition without missing a beat. Now, I always say iron sharpens iron. If you're in an environment where you have 5 dogs and you come in, you may end up being a dog. I mean, because you're going to have to adapt to that lifestyle. So ultimately, we're just trying to make athletes better than they were, and give them an opportunity to be prepared for college.
Cool. Because I see from time to time that you'll see 4 stars and 5 stars actually go that route, and
Mhm.
well, they'll be coming from your schools. So I was just curious. And then
Yeah,
I also see that when y'all show up, y'all show out. And a lot of times when they have these traveling games or whatever, I was just curious actually, how does it work?
I'm sorry. Say that again, Coy.
I was just curious to see how.
Oh, he's saying he was curious to see how it all works. He was
Oh,
saying that, you see your team playing these high profile games, they're in different places, and seeing that the 4 and 5 star type players are coming from there, signing major places, and just want to see how all that worked.
yeah. I mean, and a lot of times we have a bunch of kids that are no stars,
Hmm.
True, true, true.
that come here. I mean, we have a lot of kids that aren't getting any attention at their high schools. Okay, so they make a decision to come here because they know that there are some 4 and 5 star athletes that are going to be seen by coaches. We've had kids that come here that had absolutely no stars, so they would play football, then they would go on to run track, um, indoor, outdoor in the summertime. They didn't go to football camps and get those stars like a lot of the other kids, but they would come here, they would be seen by these college coaches and get opportunities to go off to college as well. So um, there's a lot of opportunities here. We put people in front of a lot of coaches, and we have a lot of connections as well.
Which
Very
is
good.
basically something that lacks in a lot of situations. Because if you think about it, you take the defensive end at Chicago, or linebacker. Um, Give me his name is slipping me. Tyrone played at
Talking about
Buffalo.
at Buffalo,
Huh?
Roquan? You talking
I
about
mean, he
Smith?
played at Buffalo. No, he played at Buffalo in college. Oh God, he plays at Chicago. Khalil
Oh,
Mack.
Mac. Yeah.
And before, I mean, up until one arbitrarily night that he played Ohio State, nobody knew who this kid was. But he was a no star so it's the same principle that you get the kids in and you just let them do what they do, and eventually, if you got it, somebody will see you. And y'all giving them a chance to be seen.
Right, right.
Dope.
Yeah. Very good.
Let me fire this link out, Tyrone.
Okay, cool. You can do that.
Let's
All
see if I
right.
can get.
Anything else you want to know about IMG, Quay?
Nah, we can go get into the thick of the weeds right now.
Anything else you want to know about IMG, Quay?
Oh, let me kill that before we have an echo. Let me kill that before we get an echo.
Those acoustics there.
Yeah, and let me stop that before we get an echo.
Yeah. Look
Let's
like
let's
you're
get into it.
look like you're deep into the studio there. But look, before we do that, let's check out Lamont E. Thomas. All right, there's a beautiful mugshot of him right there. Um, but check him out there, Ash and Smoke Cigars. All right, you see it going across the bottom of the screen. 51861 cigar. His number again is 51861 cigar. 51861 cigar. Ash and Smoke Cigars, infused cigars, gift sets, cigar box purses, accessories, and more. Check out Lamont E. Thomas at
Check it out, man.
51861 cigar. All right, there we go. So, the topic of today, And again, this is a conversation that we're having. As everyone, a lot of people in the sports world should know now, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, has decided to take his talents to Colorado. So he's no longer coaching. Well, after the bowl game, maybe we'll get into that too. Uh, Hopefully, he does get to coach that bowl game, or he does. But coach the bowl game, the national championship game, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, to determine the Black College Championship, national championship in Atlanta, Georgia, next Saturday between the MEAC conference and the SWAC conference. The SWAC conference winner, Jackson State University, versus North Carolina Central University. Should be a good game. Lamont, this game is going to consist of the offensive and defensive players of the years in the respective leagues. Both teams have the offensive player of the year, quarterbacks. Both have the defensive player of the year in their conference, linebackers. So there's some symmetry here, and we're going to see how it all pans out in Atlanta, Georgia. We can't wait for that. But after he coaches that game,
about an hour or so,
Coach Sanders will be heading to Jackson State. So initially, guys, let's just get your initial thoughts on it, and we'll go around the horn on it. We'll start with LT.
Okay. I think it's a great opportunity for Coach Prime to elevate and move to an institution where he has additional resources and he can help more athletes as well as coaches. Provide opportunities for more kids to be able to promote themselves, get visibility, and communicate on a larger scale. As I said in previous broadcasts, it's about a vision. It's about being able to get out there and communicate with people. And I think it's just a great opportunity. I mean, Coach Prime, I think he went into Jackson State. He did a good job. He did what he could do. And based on the limitations, I think we're going to get into that a little bit more later. That, sometimes you get handcuffed. But I think he was able to provide a good platform for Jackson State, provide some visibility to HBCU football. And he's uplifted HBCU football in a large way. And I'm looking forward to what he can do at Colorado. So I'm excited for the young man. The one good thing I love about Prime is the fact that he is very transparent. When he walked into Colorado, he talked to the young man and said, hey, if you don't want to be here, you can enter the portal. You have to be a dog to be here. You have to be ready. And the one thing about college football, most of these kids that are playing D1, D2 ball, they have a desire and they aspire to play at the next level. There's only one way that you can get to that next level. You have to be seen. Whether it's seen live and in person or be seen on tape. And if you're not going to be seen on tape, it doesn't make sense to stay at an organization where you're going to ride the bench the entire year. So Coach Prime is very transparent in saying, hey, if you're not sure this is what you want to do, because I'm going to push you to the limit. And you're going to have to be prepared. And if this is not what you want, this is not where you need to be. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do at Colorado, and kids can buy in, and the coaches that he's bringing on board, the chemistry there, all that's going to be very important. So we'll see what we can do. Looks like I may have lost the host and the co-host.
Oh, yeah, LT.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'm here, man. I heard a lot. I just had a little couple of technical difficulties there, but I heard everything that you were saying. And yeah, there's plenty of opportunity there for Coach Prime. My initial thoughts of it is that, and it's just my personal thoughts on it, is that I'm saddened by it, for one, because I really thought that there was a change of the landscape, if you will, that was in the making. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing against any other schools or anything like that, but Coach Prime was in the beginning, his statement to Jackson State and also the HBCU landscape was that he was here to level the playing field. In other words, make it a thing where, in particular HBCUs, but also smaller schools in general, will have that opportunity to get athletes similar to like how the Power Fives, that were created, or the Group of Fives, or the FBS level of teams and stuff, and and universities have had the advantages of. And so, if anybody was the type of person that I believe can lead the way in that, would be someone in particular like Deion Sanders, because he has an influence. Number one, he has the influence of the athlete, when in particular football, where, as we saw even last season before last, where he was able to get the number one player in the country to go play at Jackson State. I mean, that was unheard of. We have to go all the way back to the 60s and 70s before you can start even thinking about something like that happening. And Coach Prime was doing that, and that's without a budget, you know what I mean? Without anything, pretty much. Being able to just say, hey, come play here, and players would consider doing that. So I was really looking forward to that momentum swing, if you will. And now that he's going to University of Colorado, we already seeing it happening now. Those type of players are already saying, hey, I'm going to follow Coach Prime, but now I'm going to follow him to Colorado, University of Colorado. So that's the part about that I'm down about. I just feel like there's been a lot of stuff done. I mean, there's no doubt about that. There's been improvements. There's been, things that have happened, and there's been more eyes on HBCU football, but it seems like it's just ending prematurely here. Of course, we could try to get into why later on, but my initial thoughts is like that. It's just, yeah, man, it's kind of sad that, the schools, the smaller schools, quote unquote, the ones that at once upon a time was a power, before our time, really, but it's going to start going back the other way again. So that's just my initial thoughts on everything. We can get into a little more later. Coy, did you have a chance to give your initial thoughts on Coach Prime Lee?
No. To say why you was having technical difficulties, I was having boss issues. The boss side didn't want to have a discussion. So,
okay.
But she's squared away now.
Hey, by the way, before you comment, I'm gonna say what's up, everybody. I'm gonna start throwing you up here on the screen. So I'm just saying what's up. Go ahead, Coy.
All right. My initial thoughts on Prime is, I get the part of that he's moving up in the coaching profession. I understand the tiers to step, and you move on. You go on. You go from Division 2, 1AA, or FCS, whatever you want to call it, to usually a struggling 1A team, perform, move up, and then you get a Power 5 job. We all understand that thing. My only issue with him in particular, or this particular move, I just kind of, it's nostalgia in me that I feel like there's a little bit more work to be done, and the promise that was made in the beginning, and that doesn't really sit well to me. But I'm also a firm believer in, you don't count any man's money, and if he makes that choice, he makes that choice. It just, part of it feels a little bit, I guess it's not so much about him. It's more about what's left behind, because I can see. I saw this situation where, if he stays, because eventually he has to go, because there's no need in being a big fish in a small pond. But I saw another couple years of developing that would actually, so to speak, affect the whole conference, and so to affect the whole landscape, where the first is Eddie George, you got Hugh Jackman, but then maybe you can get some of your other brethren to start filtering yourselves around these programs around the country, which in turn, Prime is it's not so much that Prime, don't get me wrong, Prime is one of the greatest football players, if not one of the top 5, and possibly in some counts the number 1 athlete that played football. However, what he brought that was more important than anything was that he's a media darling. The attention that he generated, you just can't get the average fella to generate that type of attention. That's the
Right.
big thing. That's the biggest part about it. However, if if he took his connections and then say bring in an Ed Reed, because I know y'all love Prime, but in my eyes, Ed Reed is just as good of a defensive back and probably more on the side of coaching and field analytics. He surpasses Prime. Not saying he's a better athlete, but as far as the coaching side of it and the mindset, what's up, $2 in carbon? It makes a big difference. And TK. So that was where I have. That's where I kind of have. I feel a little bit a kind of a way about Prime because
Okay.
I can see where there was some unfinished business.
Yeah. And so with that, gentlemen, with that unfinished business, let's give a little backdrop on some things here. You
What's
know,
up, nephew?
with the college football landscape for one. I know a lot of times we talk about bigger school, smaller school, etc. So if we go back to like the 70s, right? Around 1978, Florida A&M, they defeated I believe it was Massachusetts in a championship game. So if you're familiar with the FCS level now, there's a playoff going on now. Well, back then it was like one AA, which is FCS. If you look at current days, and they have a tournament, and so Florida A&M at that time was even moving up to D1, which would be similar to a team moving from FCS to FBS now. Like for example, I think what school is moving up now, or has moved up? Like Liberty, for example, they were an FCS
Liberty.
team at one time. They
You got
moved up, right?
most of your directional schools in Liberty and most state schools, Georgia Southern,
Georgia Southern is an example.
Georgia State. I think Kennesaw State has came up
Kennesaw
to that.
State,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're all moving up to the bigger level because everybody wants that bowl money.
right. So there you go. And I'm glad you said bowl money because so what was happening was back then. So now, bigger schools, quote unquote, like Alabama, Georgia type schools, they're looking at how they could separate from these other schools and create their bowl systems and generate and share the wealth at the bowl system level versus playing in these tournaments. And so they created this have and have nots thing. They did a vote. I think it was done in Atlanta, and they did a vote, and the schools voted to say, hey, we're going to create this FBS level and have an FCS level, which at that time was 1AA. So you separate the haves and have nots. You have different levels of scholarships too. So one level has more scholarships than others. So if you go back to today, a school like Jackson State, they have 60 some odd scholarships because they're FCS school. And then a school like University of Georgia will have 85, 86 scholarships. So you have about 20 something more scholarships out there on the table. Just things like that. And then the schools have to have X amount of sports. They have to have all these different criteria in order to become, part of this club, if you will. So now you have and have nots in sports. And you just keep going out through the years, and then you add in the integration piece as well. You start losing the athletes, the top tier athletes, like a Travis Hunter, for example, who initially was going to go to a Florida State. So what you see happening is an erosion. And that's why you pretty much see a haves and have nots between teams. And that's where the part about Deion is where I'm like, yo, you were saying like, hey, we're going to level this playing field. We're going to make this change. And again, not saying it's all on one person, but he is the influence. And so that's why it goes back to being disappointed. But I just want to give that backdrop. So when people hear about these different schools and you wonder why this school's bigger than that school, those are part of the reasons. And actually, there's two conferences right now that are FCS conferences. They're combining, and they're going to create a super conference and move up into the FBS level, which is something else I'm going to touch on later of what I think should happen with HBCU schools. So that's a little bit of a background right there. I'm going to stop talking now and just let LT give some of his thoughts about, the why of Coach Sanders leaving.
Okay. Thank you. $2 was good. You made the statement that had to take some notes.
Yes, sir.
You're disappointed in the fact that Coach Prime said that he's there to level the playing field. Actually, he never said that. What Coach Prime said was these kids need the playing field leveled. And I cannot wait for this opportunity. If you give us the resources, give us the resources. If you give us the same resources that the other schools have, we're going to provide and prove that there is a highway to take these kids from Jackson State to the NFL. Okay, so he didn't say he's going to level the playing field, but needless that it may, it would have been, I think Coach Prime went to Jackson State. He did a great job in turning the program around. Okay, a lot of people could have gone there and turned the program around, but I think it's more so about his presence, his what he's done in the media. Because let's take a look. I'm gonna use Eddie George. Eddie George
Exactly.
is a coach. He played in the NFL. Who's his social media guy? How much has he reached out to tap into his resources to help HBCU football? Prime used his resources. Prime talked to his friends, got things to happen at Jackson State that hadn't happened there in the past, and it brought a lot of attention. It brought a lot of excitement. And in doing that, more people started to tune in. And Prime, as far as a coaching perspective goes, I don't know how good he is. He has a lot of good
he has.
Oh, you about to say
Everybody
something?
there?
Yeah. I would say as a coach, as far as watching his analysis, he's as far as when it comes as far as his part of the game. Yeah, he's very intuitive. He knows what you need out of a DB, and he has excellent eye for talent. That is undeniable. You can just watch when he was on NFL Network, and he did a lot of his draft summaries and a lot of the calls he made, and the kids that he particularly. He has a hell of an eye for talent. Now, whereas I watched Jackson State play, and I seen his two kids play, I would say that either you can tell there's a lot of personal input into those boys, but the great defensive backs are mirrors of great quarterbacks. They're really really good ones because a great defensive back plays like a quarterback, not like a defender. It makes sense if when you get to that level. Not that I ever got that good, but that's the gist of it. So, but on one point, like I said, I don't think that it was so much about it was the leveling of, like you said, the talent level. When the talent level met, and then I also believe I'm more disappointed in that I was hoping that at some point it became where we get money into the conference. You see what I'm saying? We get this sponsorship money. It's just like where the SEC has their sponsored by blah 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 blah. Not so much that it was where I was so all about Prime, but I was using he was a gateway to get that level of money pushed into it because, like you
Right.
said, it's proven that they proved that they sold out just about 60 to 30 to 60,000 seats every year. I mean, every game that the money's there.
Mm-hmm.
And
And by the
then
way,
once
Coy, they Jackson State was leading FCS football pretty much in attendance, like even before Deion got there.
Mhm,
They were getting 39,000 to go to games at Jackson State
mhm.
over the years. It's one of the best kept secrets in the country. But
Yeah,
again, Deion is shedding a light on that. Now the number went up in attendance definitely because of Deion. Now that's
Right.
I mean, he's really taking it to a whole nother level. So, but go ahead, carry on.
And also, well, I want to address one question. And actually, for my buddy Fish, actually, Prime would have not gotten that. He was not going to get a. He was not going to get that job. He was not going to get. I mean, he was not going to get a Colorado or any other premier D1 school job. He had to go the route he went to showcase because.
Yeah.
Which actually, I got a question for you because one of the things I heard, like I said, I'm not in the inside or anything. One of the things that I was brought to my attention was that before he took the Jackson State job, there were some issues with his school. I know it was about administrative and other people, but when your name is on something, it affects it doesn't matter who did wrong, it falls with your name. Which I'm going to ask Lamont exactly what was the issue with Prime Academy, or do you know? Since I'm just asking you because you was in that field.
Yeah, no, I don't know. So, yeah,
A little bit of.
I don't want to assume.
Yeah. But well, guys, there was a lot of reports that were, and again, we're not going to sit here and say that these are accurate because I don't think they were totally accurate. But you know how this works out in the media sometimes. But it was a picture being painted that there was some issues as far as academically at the school, which again, he's a football.
Also, understand that it had nothing to do with Prime himself.
Correct.
It was actually individuals that were working for the school supposedly did some foul behavior or unethical things.
Right.
But like I said,
trying to tie that.
Right. And supposedly that was initially when he sought out the coaching avenue, those were some of the things that were supposedly held against him. And what people got to understand why it's such a, because if you're not part of, say, the black community or whatever, and that really into this, you understand that the reason why HBCUs are given a hard time by us on some levels, but are always cherished by us is because in a lot of ways, those schools have given a lot of kids from our community a chance when the rest of the schools won't.
Yeah.
They quote unquote have their standards are sometimes quote unquote not quite up to where other schools are, but it's not because they don't produce kids, because actually when you look at the Morehouses, you look at the Maharis, you look at Howard, and you look at some of the other schools, Spelman, Tuskegee, you find out that in those three schools, 60% all black doctors, all engineers that are African Americans come from those schools. So it's not that they're given a less than education. It's just that they set the entry to get in may be a little bit lower, but we're going to bring you up to par. Exactly what we want with the football team. So it kind of hits a little different when we see avenues of where these schools can get their just due from a situation and he exits. But like I said, we cannot doubt him, and it is somewhat our own fault that you put all the aspirations, hopes, and everything behind one man to fix something that hasn't been done in hundreds and hundreds of years of these institutions existing that we could have done in other ways. However,
but I feel like, Coy, that not that it's all on Coach Prime, and I think that's an issue that I have with a lot of people, is that it's not all about, hey, we're just getting on Coach Prime. No, it's not that. It's just that there are a segment of people that feel like he was the influence. Let's imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King said, you know what, I'm gonna stop fighting for civil rights, or I'm just tired of it because there's so much. This is not working out right now. We got these people against me right now. I'm just gonna like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and do something else with my time. Sometimes it takes, when you're trying to do something that is uncharted waters, or you're trying to make something really groundbreaking, sometimes you got to take these punches, and it may not happen overnight. You may get a lot of pushback. And so, I think if you hang in there, things can be better. Now, hey, you say why? Well, why should he do that? Well, Somebody got to do it that has the power to do it. You know what I'm saying? How many people gonna listen to me if I say, hey, go, come play here? I'm not that person that can do that. But
You see,
I can do my part. I can do my part from where I'm at, which is, we're voicing our opinions about it now and speaking things out into existence. And so,
no, I mean, and I actually put money. I actually donate a little bit to some schools, but my thing about it is, like I said, this was something that was going to happen in so many levels. I did not expect Prime to be Eddie Robinson. I just didn't. It was going to happen at some time. But what I did want is just, this is more, I guess my problem is more selfish from me. I saw what was going on and I wanted another year or two of it because what I wanted to happen was you get some of those other guys that are coming out that are getting in coaching. My biggest thing was my thing about HBCU football is I want the players and I want the coaches on staff. Prime has opened a gateway where these coaches realize that these guys realize there is a place for me to get on these staffs, right? Well, I'm looking at it in terms of now I'm hoping that the other schools follow suit and start pulling this talent back into their schools and giving these guys the opportunity to become coaches. Because to be honest with you, the players, we've got that figured out. Meaning our kids are gonna produce and become players everywhere. But I'm looking more into, I want to see more of us on the other side, the administrative, all the different parts of the game. Like most people think, oh, you're just a head coach and you go show up for X and O's. No, there's a totally difference. The coach at Alabama and the coach at Alabama, Colorado, and a lot of other places is a total different job than just X's and O's. And Prime was starting to show the blueprint of what a head coach should be. And me personally, aside of a good coach, as far as on college level, it's not so much the coach, it's always his staff. And Prime had found a way to produce a decent enough staff to actually create some kind of long-term lasting effect.
Mm-hmm. So
that's just from my point of view. I just feel it just needed a little bit more time to aid in the development of the rest of the conference. It's almost like they say, rising tide levels all boats. And I just wanted to get to the point where we only remember Jackson State. See, like Southern and Grambling. Everybody knows who Southern and Grambling is. Everybody knows now who Jackson State is. We know Alcorn has kind of disappeared, but Southern, Grambling, South Carolina State, Tennessee State, FAMU, A&T not so much, FAMU, and Howard. But there's a whole bunch more out there that we don't pay attention to.
Yeah. Hey guys, before we go a little further, let's just play a quick video here. I just want to let you guys listen to this just for a second.
Tailgate, I love the tradition, but I believe that you go now, get your butt in the stadium and watch this. I believe that all the people that you know with a child that has a D1 potential or a Power 5 potential that can now choose Jackson State. I believe that our coaching staff is going to go into every hood, every barbershop, every soul food joint, every nook and cranny, every grandmother's house to recruit these dogs because we have 99 players that has been drafted into the NFL, but I believe up under my watch we're going to have 100. I believe that it's some wonderful things that's going to happen if we unite together. Because I believe in unity. I believe in every person sitting up on the stage. They wouldn't be on the stage if they didn't have that intangible, that hit.
All right, that's just a clip. We ain't gonna play the whole. And Fish, you're correct. He is gonna make. I mean, his contract at Jackson State was $300,000 a year, and supposedly, depending on who says what, He donated half of that. So off the rip, he's already making a $5 million a year contract. Now, also to be there's some things that came out this week. None of them, all of them are alleged. That supposedly there's some issues on the school side that need to be addressed at some point. But I've been kind of quiet because everything else, this part of it is all hearsay, or whether Prime did this and the school did this. And, I've learned a long time ago, when there's a breakup, there's always somebody that's got something to say opposite of what the side that you hear first. So we'll just see what happens with the different things that's going on.
Yeah. LT, some comments on that excerpt there that you heard.
I mean, I think what he said was valid. But at the same time, this it's like a verse in the Bible. You can't just pick and choose a little piece that suits you. You have to read and understand the whole verse of the Bible. In that clip, he said, yeah, I can take, we've had 99 go, I can take it to 100. All right. And then he turned and looked at someone on his side as to imply like, yo, if we all on the same page, we can be great. Yes, Deion has a lot of influence, but his influence is only as good as he's allowed to use it. Okay. You guys have played sports for a long time. You guys know that, all right, I can do everything that I can do. But when you get somebody that's above you and puts handcuffs on you or doesn't allow you to do certain things, you made a statement earlier. You're not sure if Deion is going to coach the bowl game or not. Why is that?
Administration.
Prime wants to coach the bowl game, but there's someone in that stable that doesn't want him to coach that game. Okay? I've gone to a lot of HBCU football games, basketball games, just being on campus in general.
Right.
And I've seen certain individuals walking around campus and they clean, Jack. They sharp as a tack. Everybody knows who they are. They the man on campus. They're the man in town. Everybody knows the president. He the big dog.
Yes, sir.
But then all of a sudden, you get some good that's not from here. Now he's there. He's flashy. He's getting all the attention. Wait a minute. I'm the president. I'm the big dog. He getting everybody looking to him for answers as opposed to coming through me. Protocol is to come through me, go through the athletic directors, and we make a decision. Now, Prime is making all the decisions. He's doing this, doing that. And again, the media is putting stuff out there to make people look good, bad, and or indifferent. So what is the story? I don't know. I'm not in that stable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the media can say, all right, yeah, he should have stayed for 4 years. People can say he should have stayed for 4 years. Well, if there's turmoil in the stable and the president is allowing the head coach to do what he set out to do because of some disagreement somewhere, I'm going to leave too. You know, there's a lot of companies that have been started because of a disagreement.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this too, though, gentlemen. If he currently is not the coach, currently did not accept the job at University of Colorado, would there be any doubt that he'll be coaching that game in Atlanta?
Yes.
So that part of the issue too is that he took this coaching job, and so there may be some things going back and forth on that, and also
Hold on.
Yeah, he took a job to coach somewhere else. I mean, so why wouldn't there be any possible
No.
back and forth about that?
No. Tyrone, hold on. Let me get this one about. First of all,
ain't nothing to get here. I'm right here.
Most of the time when a coach take a new job, he chooses not to coach the bowl game to start setting up his program. It's new. Usually, this is it's different with the administration. I know where Lamont's going. It's different when the administration say, "No, you're not going to coach your last game." The only time that happens is you don't get found with a live boy or a dead girl in your car. I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
Right. So why is there a doubt that he's coaching though? That's what I'm saying.
Because the administration put out
Did
that
they?
Prime the administration did put out that they're going to move on and Prime will not coach the bowl game. Now that there's kind of a pushback, because honestly, like I said, I tell you my feelings. I didn't want him to leave that program, but I'm gonna be honest with you. The way the administration and Lamont made a good point. At HBCUs, the president is the peacock. He's the man. But when you get a personality of the size of and the cachet of Prime, there's rumors that he paid half or he either paid for or half of a new tennis facility and a whole bunch of other practice facilities, weight rooms, or whatever. And then I mean, so I've seen the argument. Well, he didn't pay all of it; he paid half of it. You see what I'm saying? So we're not. I'm never going to say Prime didn't do a lot for that school.
No one's saying that. I'm not even saying that.
But I'm telling you now, that administration was the one that came out and was like, nah, we don't think we're going to have him at the bowl game.
Okay, but my thing to you guys is, if he was not the coach at Colorado, would there be any doubt that he'd be coaching in that bowl game?
Because he would still be the coach of Jackson next year.
Exactly.
Well, hold on. The only reason he may or may not be the coach of Jackson is because there may have been some turmoil between him and administration.
There may be.
Right. We don't know. So the thing is, we all can sit around and say this, or we can say that he should have stayed or he shouldn't have stayed. But unless we're in that stable, if you're going to put handcuffs on me and don't allow me to continue to develop these young men and build this program the way I set out to build it, why am I here? You know,
right.
I'm using a lot of resources to make sure that these kids are getting and they're seeing what championship caliber athletics looks like. But now you're feeling sensitive. You know, you feel like Bobby Brown because I'm bringing about success and you don't like it. Now you want to tell me what I can and can't do. I got a problem with that.
Well, LT, you said sensitive. You should have said Ralph Tresvant sensitivity, but
okay. Yeah.
But no, yeah. Well, I mean, I look, I understand where you guys are coming from on that side of it, but and that's if that's what's happened. Like again, we're going by if. So if it did happen that way, you can see that. But if there was some other things, you know, maybe looked at another way. And here's another thing, guys. So Coach Prime, let's just say there's things behind the scenes with Jackson State administration and Deion, and they disagree on whatever direction they want to go with certain things. Arkansas Pine Bluff, HBCU, coach opening. Why not there versus Colorado?
Hold on, because I'm gonna be honest. It was you understood that when Prime left Jackson, he was going up. He did say. That is nothing contrary to what he already said. His next move was not going to be lateral. His next move was going to be up, and he chose Jackson State for particular reasons. What people don't realize is that fan base supports that team.
Huge, yes,
right, and in that community. If you go to Jackson, Mississippi, you realize that football team is as big as any state school you want to put it like this. Ole Miss and Mississippi State can't compete in Jackson when it comes to football or any other sport, far as the eyes of the people. That makes a very big difference. Arkansas Pine Bluff, Prime doesn't have any connections there. There's a lot of different things, and also with Jackson, you got to look at vicinity. Primes is a guy that's came up in the Southeast particularly. All his connections as far as bringing in athletes and other things is going to be Southeast. If you look at his roster, most of his roster came from Texas, Georgia, Florida, and the surrounding states sprinkled in. I think the one he pulled was the kid he got the running back he pulled up from what Buffalo was it? Right?
Yeah, he just pulled a running back from somewhere. One of the top 300s.
I'm the one on that team that came in the portal. He's a beast. But
yeah. Well, he picked one up from he actually picked up a running back from Delaware State, another HBCU, that actually was doing great work there.
Right.
So he does great work in the portal as well. So no doubt about that.
Right. But so going from Jackson State, I would be more upset he went from Jackson State to Arkansas Pine Bluff because.
But see, for me, I wouldn't because again, if we're helping HBCU, right? You can go there and try to replicate what you're doing. I mean,
I'm one of those people.
I understand, but think about it like this for a second. All the stuff you're preaching prior, now as a result, you're doing what was already being done. Let's go to a PWI, and now you're sending all the talent that you've been recruiting. You're going to send that talent now from here on out to the PWI first. So you're actually doing all the things that have already been done. You're showing everybody that, hey, okay, well, Coach Prime is going to do this. Then, I mean, heck, why are we going to try to make this change or have this mission that was out there?
One flip. There's two things that you got on. Okay. As he move on, as all coaches move on, there's a such thing as your tree and your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
People forget when Bobby Bowden was at Florida State. A lot of Sanford got it. Every once in a while, Sanford and some of the other schools, all of a sudden, out of the blue, at Troy State, you'd be like, "What in the hell is this?" All of a sudden, 5-star kid or whatever happened, kid from Florida or from somewhere else jumped down there, meaning that you send you send talent that you may not can use, and you put your people in your past that goes on. When Terry Bowden or Tommy Bowden was at Stanford and Troy State, there was a lot of kids. The Troy State program literally got built off of the kids that Bobby couldn't recruit and the kids that Terry couldn't recruit at all. Did you know that? So,
say that last part again about Bowden.
Troy State got built off of the kid, the Troy State football team. We can say they're reasonably a mid-tier Division I football team. We all agree on that. They're not, but they're mid-tier. Every once in a while, they flash in the polls, then they flash back out. That program basically got built off of Bobby Bowden's and Terry's castaways, meaning kids that they could recruit. That they recruited, that was like, I got what I need. How about son, go here? The same thing can happen as far as Deion going when he as far as sending kids down to Jackson State or other places.
Right. But why do we have to be that school? Why do the HBCUs have to be the cast-off school? Why does it have to be the lesser than the second option? Why are we thinking that way?
Because I coach at Colorado. I'm not finna go send a 5-star kid that can start for me tomorrow to Jackson State when my job depends on it where I'm at. I mean, let's be fair. That's not gonna happen. That's not you. You're not gonna do that in your profession, and I'm sure Lamont. And I know I'm not gonna do it in my profession. If this can help me advance in my profession right now, and it's not as scrupulous, I'm not gonna just push off. Because one thing I was taught charity, but you know what I was always taught about charity? Two things. Charity start at home, and the best way you can help the homeless is not become one of them. You know what I'm saying? So you better make sure you got food on your plate and you got everything you need before you start trying to feed everybody else.
Okay, so you don't think Coach Prime can, if he was at Arkansas Pine Bluff and he took his talents there, you don't think he would get players to go there?
I'm not denying that. I don't deny that. But what I'm saying as far as what he says, as far as what he believed and what he said at some point he will leave Jackson State. Me personally, I think it's too soon. Me personally, I think the Colorado job was not the best fit. But that's opinion. But he said he was going to move, right? And as he's going to take his show to the – because what you got to understand, T, Mr. 411, is that I understand this because at my baseline level, when it comes to it all, I'm a competitor. Prime has pretty much proven in 3 years that he can dominate this division of football. Whether we like it or not, the only thing that he did not do was cap it off with the Celebration Bowl and have a little run there. But as far as what he could prove, as far as his coaching and whatever, he's proven that he can handle that. Hey, TK. But the thing about it is, I just wanted more time on the clock to get some of the other schools in play.
I understand that, but we keep saying this level. Like, why are we keep thinking with our minds that HBCU has to be
no. No, you're thinking.
That's what it sounds like.
You're thinking. I'm thinking in terms of, here we go. Right now, if Alabama played an HBCU, right?
Right.
Who's going to win?
Alabama's going to win.
All right. What you're talking about?
The rosters and
no, we can't flip flop. We cannot make. We cannot turn an apple into an orange. But the rosters are not. It doesn't.
Those recruits go to HBCU like they did in the 60s and 70s.
All right, hold on.
Play that team who wins.
Hold on. You flip flop the rosters. You say flip flop the rosters. That's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Because if you say, I don't care if you go in, you get all 5 stars, you get the power one. Let's see, most on average you have 30. Most schools at the most have 20 to 30 scholarships open a year. That's it. Say Prime got the top 30 players in all the positions he needed on his team next year, and go play Alabama. He's gonna get his head bashed wide the hell open. So, like I said, it's a difference. He's a competitor. He's ready to compete on up. He was never going to coast sideways. If he didn't stay there, he was going to go up. So he couldn't just move. So you can't just swap the roster 1 year and say all the number one crew. It's going to take 4 to 5 years,
right,
of all 30 of those kids coming in to even start having a program that's on play.
Who wins then?
Par.
Who wins then?
The better coach.
That's right.
The better coach.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
If you put you talking about with the rosters, you talking about you're saying
with the
that's
rosters.
different. I mean, yes. Okay, yeah. If I have 5 years and I'm a good coach, and if I have 5 years and I'm saving, and I'm at HBCU and I have all 5 stars all 5 of those years, yes, I'm gonna win. Year 2 or 3 will be my breakout year. That's usually the time, unless there's talent there. Now, but if you're saying he has all quote unquote 2 and 3s, unless he has the eye, because you got to understand, Tyrone, a lot of times what we consider as 5 stars end up being not the pick, because a lot of these guys have the eye. And
yeah,
what made HBCU so dope was a lot of those coaches, the Robertsons, my guy that was at Southern, your guy at South Carolina State, they all have that eye that they can get that, they can see that second or third 2-star kid and realize, well, with this, and with this, a lot of it comes in. I get this kid on campus and give him 3 square meals a day, and you create a damn Larry Allen. That's some of it, but those or Eric Williams, because if you think about it, Eric Williams is him and let's see, the guy from Baltimore, the guy from Seattle, and Eric Williams from Dallas were probably the 3 greatest offensive tackles that played the game, arguably, right? Williams came from a small black college. Why? How can that talent come there? But because he get to college and he developed. So HBCUs, I'm not saying that they're less than. You're using the term of less than. I'm looking at it as far as roster versus roster and talent. And even if you put HBCUs on par, let's say everything's equal, right?
Playing field level.
Got same playing level. Here's a fact. State schools get most money. because state students don't just get HBCU, don't get money from their own people. They get money from the state and the larger community. State schools, if you really paid attention, most of the Power Five schools that are really, really good are state schools outside of Notre Dame, BYU, and can you think of another, Mr. Lamont? There's not a state school that's preeminently.
Well, did you say University of Miami? And at one point in time they were, but
At one point in time, yes. But if you look at the top 25, you would notice that most of these schools are the state school because what? They're the premier. They're the crown of the jewel.
Yep.
right. But go back a little further though. In years, a lot of those schools you named were part of this coalition that started separating these schools.
Mm-hmm. I don't think now and Tara and let's we were acting a little wax poetic in that just when all the kids were allowed to go to black schools, they just didn't go just beat the hell out of every white school. They had their wins and they had their losses, and
these massacres that we see.
Right. So let's not make it seem like when we all had our own when we were all going to HBCUs, we just ran over there and beat the hell out of them because there's still talents that don't look like me and you and they're still with great coaches and they're still with great teams. But for one, it was more of a tossed up match. Because and honestly, I also got to understand that all the kids can't go to HBCUs.
Right.
There's not enough schools and colleges for those kids. They're going to go other places.
Correct.
It's
done in the opposite direction now, though. Yeah, it's done the opposite way now.
I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer in. I don't necessarily do what I feel that was done to us. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, all you do is become who you were. You see what I'm saying? But I am a firm believer in this. Give me all the opportunity and the resources to compete. Right?
That's what I think.
That's why I speak more on the other things that Deion brought. I think of in terms of contracts, sponsorships, and the other stuff that Prime brings into the table.
Mm-hmm.
The coaching part, I know that you can replace him as a coach, and you can replace him as a recruiter. I know a guy that I grew up with, that I played football with, that they consider him the number one recruiter, better than your coach Prime right now. And he's at the University of Georgia. Most of y'all don't know who he is. You probably do because you're into kids and recruiting. But Dale, and there's a couple more guys like that I've met over the years that I know personally. They can out recruit Prime. It's the whole personality. Prime, the biggest thing you got to think. I want to know who Prime is. Who did Prime play for in college?
Florida State.
Who did he play for?
Was it Bowden?
Yeah, you're right. That's right. And that's the type of personality Prime has. He has a personality that he can sit in your mother's living room. It's like a conversation that one coach had about Bowden. I can't remember who it was. It was Gene Stalin, and he said, I came in, and it just happened the same week that Bowden in Florida State was at the was recruiting the kid. He said he walked into the house, started talking to the dad. Before he knew it, he walks in the kitchen and Bowden sitting down with the mom, asking what she put in the spaghetti, the recipe. So what I'm getting at is Prime's that the reason why Prime can beat a lot of these other coaches, because when he comes into that kid house, he becomes the mother's favorite. He becomes more in tune into the fabric of how the house is versus talking to the dad and talking business. That's what it is. Because Prime reminds you of, and you got to think, most of these kids that he's going to recruit now, most of these moms, dad, whatever, they're our age, right?
They watch them.
They watch them and they know the personality. And that's part of the sale on Prime.
Oh, yeah. LT's itching over there. Come on, LT. I know you had some stuff there. You got a book over there, LT. Come on.
So we're saying a lot of things as it relates to how Prime has affected HBCUs, how he's going to change HBCU football by leaving. Mr. 411.
Yes, sir.
Why haven't you come down here to check me out at IMG Academy.
Why haven't I?
Yeah. Because I haven't invited you yet, right?
Oh, okay. Well, that too, yeah.
Okay.
Damn.
So now, you want to know why 5 stars aren't going to HBCUs?
Well, you can. Well, you have some insight on that.
Being invited. They're not getting invited. Coaches at HBCUs are not trying to recruit 5 stars. I have yet to see one HBCU coach on this campus. They don't do it. You want to know why? Because they feel like they can't get the 5-star. Deion said, I'm changing the game. I want a 5-star. I need these recruits. That's who I'm going to get. Everybody's in an uproar because, yes, he went and got himself a 5-star, the #1 recruit in the country. He came to Jackson State. Well, guess what? There's a lot of other 5 stars and 4 stars that may go to HBCUs if the coaches holistically tried to recruit them.
You know what? LT got a point, because I remember when I was coming up high school, my sophomore year, I started getting letters from some of the HBCUs. My junior year, at the beginning I was, and then the second half of my junior year, when the quote bigger schools were Georgia, who was it? Who were my bigger schools? Georgia, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Hawaii, and some of the other bigger schools. That is true. I stopped getting invited to HBCU games. Before that, my sophomore, junior year, they were sending tickets all the time. We went to all the games, but it is true.
Because finish your thoughts, then we're gonna go back to LT. I want to know why.
LG just proved the point. Because I mean, I'm just thinking about my own experience, and my experience is 20, 30 years ago. The problem becomes is why am I finna use these limited resources to go after a kid that I probably won't get? Because let's be honest now, LT. When you go chase a kid, you got coaches out in the field, you got coaches driving to visits, you got coaches trying to get that kid in this class. Because I know what it was in my generation. Because it was a lot of knocks on the doors. There was a lot of, phone calls. They had to, literally, they made it point of they'd create windows of when you can call kids, when you can do whatever. And then my parents was like, no calls after this certain time. I don't care who the hell you are. But so I get it. They don't take these runs on these kids because, like you said, it costs money. And you got to also remember, whereas University of Alabama, every amount of dollars they make off of concessions, off of tickets, goes to the football team and then to the university. At Jack State, it all goes to Jack State, and the money is allotted back to the school, to the football team.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear in this, and I've always said that it should be let the kids make the money, because it's almost like if a football team prospers and sell out, it's going to make more than enough money to feed back into the rest of the programs of the school.
But going back to LT real quick, and it's a valid point, and it's not a point that because I see it when I'm officiating in tournaments and stuff. When I go to different tournaments and see, like, I've been to basketball tournaments I worked, and I've seen the big coaches there. You name them, Coach K. I've seen them all at games, and you see representation of a lot of schools. I'll use an example. I was at a tournament in the Atlanta area before. Coaches are lined up everywhere with particular players on the court, and you don't see as many of the HBCU coaching staff or sweatshirts there. But that is true, right? That's accurate. They're not going after. But since Coach Prime's influence, there's been more of that. Just using case in point, the Jackson State at Alabama State game, it consisted of multiple 5 and 4 stars at that game, and they were there on a recruiting trip for Alabama State. It wasn't even for Jackson State. That's the kind of momentum that was happening. Now,
so hold on, before you forget, don't forget that the fact most people tend to overlook that you also had two pro athletes that had long careers that had impact in the NFL coaching those two teams. Because we forget we think about Prime, but we forget about some of the other guys have came back and are doing it every day. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah.
So
In general, we do. But I will say this on air that I've been watching HBCU football for the last 5-6 years. Like
Tyrone, Tyrone,
religiously. Yes,
Lamont,
I have.
Lamont, this is he's one of your best friends in the world, right? I'm sure you know this by now, because since I've been a kid and since we've been kids, he is the king of underdogs. He is just
Yep.
so he's always good. So that's
He
just the
knows it.
way it goes.
It goes that way, baby. But no, but good point. But going back to your point, LT, yes. You've seen that firsthand. I'm glad you're sharing this with everybody. So why do you think they feel that way? Why do they feel like, they can't get the star player because of where they're coaching from?
Because, all right, everything has to line up. Apples to apples, oranges to oranges. My
Mhm.
facilities are not going to line up with your facilities. Okay. If at an HBCU I have 66 scholarships, at PW I have 85 scholarships. All right.
Right.
That's irrelevant. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can go get more kids. That just means more kids are going to be sitting on the bench. Not that big of a deal. Okay. Difference of 19 scholarships, those kids, so that really doesn't matter. So the thing is, the amount of money that it costs to recruit a kid is a lot. Because
For
I need
sure.
to travel to see that kid potentially in their home or on their campus. I have to fly this kid to my university. It's just a lot. I have to invest in him. And if I know that this kid is being recruited by LSU, Florida, Florida State, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, and Jackson State, Ohio State. Now it's like, okay, do I want to invest my money? This kid gets 5 visits.
Yeah.
Gets 5 visits. My facilities don't come close to any of these schools. Do I want to take the time? The one thing that Prime did off the rip is that I need to improve my facilities. So when I bring them in and sit there and be like, okay, this compares to all of these other big universities. Okay. You go to another HBCU, I don't know what the facilities looks like. Okay. I've seen Colorado's facilities. Amazing.
Yep.
They're amazing. I've been inside Oregon's football facilities. Amazing. Okay. But I've also been inside of Fort Valley's football facilities.
Not so much.
You know, when you have an HBCU competing against a Power 5 school, some coaches aren't going to waste their time.
Right.
They're not going to waste their money. So it's about being confident enough in what you have to go out there and get the big dogs. And so Prime has set the tone. He has given the blueprint. HBCUs, let's raise up our facilities. Let's put them in a position where we can have nice stuff that can compare to that of the big dogs, the Power 5 schools. And you mentioned earlier how some schools came together and formulated their own conference, if you will.
Right.
That hasn't stopped. There's another conference right now that's they're discussing separating themselves from the NCAA. So there's a major conference that's in the South. That's
use the word South.
That's looking to separate itself from the NCAA. When you have power, you can do some things. Okay. He let people with the blueprint. If the administration, if everybody can be in alignment, president, athletic director, coaches, I'm across all sports. Let's get the facilities to where they need to be at the HBCU. Alumni, let's not be at a 10% give back rate. If we can get this up to at least 80% where alum can give back to the university, it puts the schools in a better position to be able to build out facilities, make a better environment for recruits all the way around. Because if I'm not mistaken, Prime helped with the athlete lounge.
He did.
The volleyball facilities as well as the basketball facilities. it's not just about getting football players, it's about getting athletes as a whole. If HBCUs can start to identify ways to build better facilities, they're going to get better talent. And you say, all right, what about getting these companies, these sponsorships that come in here to partner with the school? How do you go about doing that? What are you going to provide those companies to make them want to come and partner with you?
I got a commercial every weekend for 30,000 people that you get unfeathered connection to. I mean, that's it.
I mean,
plus the TV.
That's what Jackson State has. But what about all these other HBCUs?
That I agree with you. That is why I said if once the attendance get aboard across the board. See, I agree with everything you just said. All the way back to the lack of facilities. I'm probably gonna go iffy at Blinky in a second. But I agree with everything you said, the probably lack of facilities and other things. But also, like for instance, Prime had a contract with Athletic, right? Once somebody brings somebody into the sphere of influence, let's just say that Athletic decides to do things with other coaches in the conference. Hence why the sheer fact that he's there bringing other aspects into it. And you're correct in that, like we both agree that they can't recruit 5 stars because their recruiting budget is only so much. It really is. They don't have, like you said, less than 10% donorship. They don't have the huge endowments. I mean, the be honest with you, we're waiting on the first black college to actually have $1 billion worth of endowment, and the closest to it is Howard, and I think, but me personally, I think Spelman and Morehouse should be lumped together, but Spelman second, Morehouse third. So, and neither one of them that I've mentioned are considered the elite of the football sports or sports school. So there is a lie of difference. But I always tell people that we're talking something that's less than 60 years that we actually since post Jim Crow and all the other crap that went on. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to have the endowments, but until you have the high profile quote unquote huge, because honestly, even though we give the numbers, for instance, Georgia has probably 20 to 30 power donors that make all the moves. Same at Alabama, same at Texas, and same at most schools. Whereas the HBCUs don't have those type of donors. And on average, most don't give back anyway. So it just, I don't know. It's almost like a grassroots type of thing where they gotta get theirs $1 at a time. So we don't know. And then in turn, these administrations in the HBCUs have the power to control the budgets. And most of the time when these kids go play these money games, the $750,000 $1 million game, that money don't go straight back to that program. Even though these kids went out there and sacrificed themselves, that money goes to the general fund, and the administration chooses to use it in whatever way they choose to see fit. And how can you? It gets kind of crazy because the argument is, well, it's just sports, and then the argument is we do need new libraries, we do need this, we need this, and it gets to be a argument that if you give it to the football players, because there's also this percentage, there's also this thought process in what I call black intellectuals that it's just a sport. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people tend to think it's just a sport, but do not realize whether it's entertainment or you building a house, if it generates income, it's a fabric of your economy. And it's not a person on earth that does not find something to do in their leisure. So exactly. It is what it is.
I have a question as it relates to 4 stars and 5 stars. Okay. How do you become a 4-star or 5-star?
How or
Yeah, how?
well, somebody rates you. I mean, that's basically what it is. Somebody says you are.
Yep. So
Somebody just says you are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they evaluate you too now to some point.
Okay. All
They
right.
do now. They don't just wake up and say, "Oh, you're a 5-star."
I was a borderline 3.5 to 4-star player. Okay, you know why? Because I ran a 4.5 40.
Yeah.
I was touching 6 feet, and I was decent ball skills, decent blah blah blah, and they figured they could move me to DB, and so therefore I wasn't quite the prototypical. But what they said was I actually was more of an athlete, and they figured. And as soon as I got to college, they moved me from linebacker to move me to DB, and they were right. I was a journeyman player. I played, didn't make no noise, but didn't hurt a team. Blah 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 blah. I was just a good player. Okay.
Well, you was a monster in the backyard. Now you used to kill everybody.
That's also when you put a big fish in a small pond. Yo,
so I've seen a lot
as I was advised, hit the like button, people.
Kids go to camp.
Go ahead, LT.
Kids go to football camps. They'll go to a camp for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get out there. They'll race someone. They'll do a drill.
They put you on the clock. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna rank this kid this. I'm gonna rank this kid that. I'm gonna rank this kid that. Okay. Now, a brother like myself, I can't afford to go to these camps, but I'm wearing your ass out at practice.
Now, all right. Now, LT, to be fair, I'm sure it's still the same now. If you're wearing everybody out on the field in the games, somebody's gonna find some money to send you to their camp.
It depends on where you're being seen.
Right, that's correct.
You know what I mean? Because
that's a good point, LT.
We had some kids here.
Mm-hmm.
He was a 5-star. He was a 5-star, and he ain't playing it down for us.
Wow.
He came to us as a sophomore, but you know something? That joker could run.
Oh, it's one of them. You know,
yeah.
You come from the generation. He looks good, and he looks good in a uniform.
Man,
the practice all-stars, yeah.
So he'd go to the camps, and he would do okay from a drill perspective, but they always had the races. They always were in situations where, all right, let's see who the fastest man is at camp. He won. Every camp he went to, he'd win. And then all of a sudden now, people pulling out their phones. He's running up on people. He's turning. He's looking at them while they're racing. Then, boom, he takes off. So now he's getting a lot more social media traction. And next thing you know, his numbers climb. 5-star. Went to a Power 5 school. Rode the bench for 2 years and then transferred. Okay, so people are out here getting all these stars that mean nothing. There's a bunch of kids out here that have no stars and they're dogs. So I don't necessarily believe in this 5-star system.
Mm-hmm.
Because Khalil Mack coming out of high school was a 2-star, I think he was.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is it's kind of like it's even like the NFL or the NBA. You have a lot of scouting and rating of players, and you say they're going to get drafted here. I mean, let's look at it. Look at what Kawhi Leonard was drafted in the NBA. You know, and at one time, Kawhi Leonard was one of the best two-way players when he was on the court. Ended up being one of the better players on the court. Paul George drafted late. You know, Dennis Rodman came from nowhere, from obscurity to become defensive player of the year most of the time.
Although it's true, there's always diamonds in the rough.
So there's always going to be these, dynamics, right?
But I will say this: I was looking at something when we were doing our draft show last year, T. Yeah, I was looking at a lot of the first round picks, and I was actually looking to see where they were on all the sports. What is it? The rankings coming out of high school. It's mighty, but it is true that a lot of those 4 and 5 stars and even and high 3 stars, kids tend to pan out on a better percentage than some of the lower stars. Yes, there's always the anomaly, but Lamont is correct. Lamont is correct that if you create some of the biggest hype films in the world, you can get a kid in college. I've watched the blueprint that I don't want a dog. I was just saying our local high school. I don't want a dog. I watched their games.
You don't have to give out the name.
Kids. I'm gonna leave the name out. But the program, they get about usually about 10 to 12 kids scholarships, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the talent on the field doesn't equate as far as my eye, and I tend to think I have a better than average eye for talent when it comes to football. So,
okay, so we sound. Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. But it's basically the hype man built the hype built behind it.
Right. So we know it's possible to recruit, and there needs to be more of a interior confidence to go out and go after said player, regardless of what you have, right?
T, you're not understanding something that Mila Lamont is telling you. You can't blow your budget on misses. You don't build a program, because for everyone that you go out and chase that don't pan out, that's a stretch. All these long shots, you still got a roster. All right, they're FCC, so they give out 60 some scholarship. Am I right, Lamont?
Yeah,
they have 85 rosters.
That's Power 5. That's 1-1 and 1A. So it's 60, right? So you go out there.
Yeah.
So if you go out there and you recruit kids, right? Follow me. You only have, and you got to remember, you only have on any given year, depending on between transfers and other things that goes on, you only have 20 slots. So you take it. You take 65 scholarships and divide it by 5 years, meaning redshirt year to your senior year, right? Okay. And so you average about 20 to 30 scholarships a year, depending on how the classes go, right?
Okay.
If you go out there and you take all 20 of those scholarships and push and go after Travis Hunter and all the other super 5 stars, right? Because even Alabama and Georgia and some of these others do not necessarily spend their budget on going after those kids. Some of those kids come see them.
Because they have a record.
Yeah.
They've shown proof that they get kids to the next level.
Right.
Okay.
And you have the fact that, so let's say you you set your budget for those, say you offer all 30 of your scholarships to those kids, right? Because I'm a prime example. I had a lot of places that if this kid didn't sign, this kid didn't sign, this kid didn't sign, this kid didn't sign, that you're gonna we'll sign you. And Tyrone, we're getting in trouble. They're saying that we have 18 likes and 40 some people in here. And he said, tell people to hit the like button. We're getting messages.
Thank you.
So, but hit the like button, people, for me and Mr. 401 get in trouble. So you miss on, say you get 5 of those kids. That means you have 15 scholarships at the last minute. You got to go find kids for. You got to hunt them kids down, because you got to remember, after a certain date, most of everybody's found somewhere to go. Now you're trying to go find this kid, and odds are you're not going to get the kids that you would have on your list per se. You follow me now?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I understand. I hear the why and understand that, but it keeps coming back to. It sounds like the playing field is still not level, because if you can't go out and go after these guys because of your budgets and so on, et cetera. So how do we get that? How do we get that level?
Understand this, Tyrone. So we all on the same page. Colorado's not on the same level on playing field as Texas and Alabama there's always going to be tiers in the world. It just is what it is. You see what I'm saying? Not even all the big programs. Colorado is not the biggest of the big. It's just had to be a Power 5 conference. When Colorado was great Colorado, what they did was they spent a whole bunch of their time getting the marginal kids and the kids that was left over out of California. And a lot of times they were a Prop 48 built program. I couldn't get to USC or I couldn't get some of the other bigger schools, and my grades were so-and-so, and Colorado brought those kids in. They didn't just go, if you look at Colorado when they were at power, they didn't just go get 5 stars. What they got was the 5 stars. The 5 stars they got were kids that couldn't get into other programs, had a little background. There's a reason why you had all the issues you had at them 2 schools in Oklahoma, Nebraska, and all the other stuff with all the scandals. But hold on one second, fellas.
Okay, but that's still a significant difference from HBCU football. Even though, yeah, there are tiers, but that's a major drop from there to HBCU sports. But go ahead, LT.
Right, but the reason there's a big disparity between HBCU football and PWIs is because of the belief system, the financial support and backing. My thing is this: it's not difficult. Either you can do it or you can't do it. And so you have to, first of all, build up your facilities. And I'm not talking about just your sports facilities.
Right.
Your dorms got to be decent. Your campus center has to be decent. The classrooms have to be decent. If you build up your school, okay, start building up your school facilities. That's step one. Now, it's going to take you a lot of years to get...
A little bit of feedback, though.
Huh?
Oh, go ahead. There was a little bit of feedback. I couldn't hear you, but go ahead.
It's going to take a lot of years to get to the point where people want to just come to your university.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all these other big schools, they have a social media presence that's promoting and putting their schools out there left and right. They're not doing that at HBCUs. HBCUs themselves are not investing in themselves to promote themselves. So that's number one. This is what I have to say to finish off everything. Deion promoted building up the facilities at an HBCU. Okay. When he came in, he saw what he had to work with, and he knew, all right, one, I have to change the mindset of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One, make them believe that they can compete at the next level. But in order for them to come in here or want to come here, we have to have better facilities. So whether the classrooms, the dorms, the football facilities themselves, everything has to be solid. Okay, that's number one. Then, after you've gotten the facilities where they need to be, don't be afraid to recruit top talent. Go get them. Okay. Now, recruiting top talent, you have very limited resources on being able to recruit kids. You have a very small window to be able to recruit kids. NLI signing day is December 21st to the 23rd. Okay. People have been talking, and a lot of kids like to sit there with 5 hats on the table, and you get to decide on which one you go to. So now, if 5 scholarships have been offered, you can only get 1. He's going to pick 1. Now, guess what? The other 4 schools got to go find a replacement for that kid. So HBCU's got to be smart about the money that they use to recruit. They don't have a lot of it. Boom. Create a massive social media presence. You have a marketing department at the school. Utilize those kids to create marketing plans for the university. For every sports program, build up the school. It's free. Use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, I don't care, Snapchat, use it all. Okay.
And also have your surrogates at these high schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you see. A lot of times you have coaches that are surrogates for these major universities. If they see a kid, if they come across a kid, they're sending it out. And if it's kids on their team, they're already start having conversations with these kids. Hey, you need to look here. Da, 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 da. I know it sounds illegal as hell, and it is, but it's the facts. Only crimes you get, you go to jail for are the ones you get caught doing. So it's just the game is the game. And it goes back to what you call your alumni presence.
Yeah, and one last thing, once you build up your facilities, you recruit your top talent, massive social media, you got to win.
Yeah,
you got to win, baby. You know, I can assure you, if Jackson State wasn't winning, would people care? Would people care if Deion was leaving? They'd be like,
no. And you know what?
Bye.
And you know what Deion did not do? He did not go get his head bashed in for some money. Because you know what? Whether you like it or not, yes, you get money for those games and you get exposure, but it also gives national media exposure, and it gets your team. As a young man, we're talking football. I'm not gonna go up there and get my ass beat to hell every time. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only image I got. Versus Deion didn't take those money games and he competed against teams in his conference and the games that he went out on. You notice he did the same thing. He played a whole bunch of alumni games where he just beat the hell out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And he also wanted to be a catalyst. There's a video out there about him being the catalyst of coming up with a committee to talk about to approach these other schools and say, hey, on money games, we're going to set the floor. We're going to go for the ceiling, but we ain't going to go below this floor, which I think he was saying was 750,000. Because I think Alabama State flew out to UCLA this year, and I think they went for like maybe 550 or something like that. But he also said a lot of that was exhausted in probably your flight. You know what I'm saying? He also mentioned that when FAMU played the University of North Carolina this year, they should have charged more for that game. And, you're also getting the band too. So there should be another fee for that as well. So I think Coach Prime had the mindset there for a lot of things to happen. And I think it would have took some time, but, getting the mind change, the mindset change would have really done wonders. So I hear LT, you gave some great points on what needs to be done moving forward, because in all, man, we got to move forward now. Like there's nowhere else to go right now but to move forward anyway. So it takes, I know a lot of things you mentioned, but on top of that, it takes people that look like me, you, Coy, a lot of our friends. A lot of times we talk about going to the sports bar and go watch, Alabama against Georgia. But let's talk about going to watch, Alabama State against FAMU. Let's talk about getting together and watching games like that. Let's spread the word to people like that. That there's other games out here besides just UCLA against California or something like that. It's going to take a group effort at all levels of all different angles for all of us to make this a better thing.
I'm going to have to hit my brother Tata. Jackson State failed in keeping Deion, and if what's came out is true, that's a black eye on them. But one thing Jackson has that a lot of other schools don't have, they have supported their people.
Yeah.
So don't count Jackson State out. It's more or less, we're not really worried about what's going to happen to Jackson State, because Jackson State is going to be okay. They always are. It's the other schools that in that conference that I'm more worried about besides the big three.
Yeah, because Jackson State has 19 SWAC championships. So, I mean, they have a good history there.
Let's forget about the history at Jackson State. Let's talk about the now at Jackson State. Jackson State is in a position where those things that I've listed, they've got the number one. They have the facilities now.
Yeah.
So now they got the facilities to compete against a lot of these other big schools. They need to put the right coaching staff in place who's willing to go recruit the top talent. That's all you got to do. And it's going to be a process. Like you said, you want to go watch the games, okay? Who's working out? Who's negotiating these TV rights deals?
Yeah.
To the point where you can see the game. You can go somewhere and watch the game. How much money are you making, or your university making, because this TV game is on? Tap into your resources, people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very smart. Exactly. We just got to utilize everything that we have at our disposal.
And speaking of that,
people don't realize that the SEC championship brings almost close to $500 million to that conference every year.
Right, and that's what needs to be developed for HBCU. Major TV deals, bring and having these TV deals bring in these type of contracts. Which again, that goes back to why this stuff was separated in the beginning.
But you gotta have the product to support it.
Right. Which again, we all
want the second half before we get the first half. It's almost like when we actually talk football, what's the first thing I scream about every team? What's the first thing I look at? And you got to remember, I play linebacker DB. What is the first thing I always talk about when we talk about football?
Interior alignment.
The line, the front. So it's the same thing. You got to build a foundation, and then once you get your foundation set, once you get the facilities, the coaches, and the administration in place. This is the part we all forget about. It doesn't matter how great your coach is, and it's going to turn. If what has been the rumors are true, it shows what happens with poor administration. It doesn't. When you have poor administration, that the coach don't matter. I.e., we all talk about FAMU, and they were supposed to be perennial, the one to give Jackson a chance, right? Well, we got cheated on that game. Why? Because of FAMU's administration. So we'll never know what the real outcome of that game. And that was supposed to be one of the games that Jackson State should have been a lot more competitive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we tapped into a lot of things here, a lot of issues, and again, we'll find out more of what the real reasons are at some point. I mean, a lot of this stuff will come to light at some point. Here's a couple of commits. Grambling State has a 3-star recruit. A big recruit coming in. Tennessee State also has a recruit coming in. So they're still recruiting out here, trying to get it done best possible. But again, this is not over. It's not over for HBCU sports. It's not over for Jackson State. It's not over for all across the board. It's just that we have to work better across the board, as the guy said, with the infrastructure. And so we'll move forward with that. Closing comments, Coy?
One thing I would say that, but also sometimes you got to understand, is that what the schools want? We're looking from the perspective of football fans or whatever.
Right. You
got to remember now, people forget that Harvard, Princeton, Dartmouth, and all of them play football every year, and they can give a damn about the football scholarships and the rest of it. So it all depends on what is the school's mission. If their mission is, if that's not important on their list, you're gonna get the product you got.
LT.
Build your program, recruit, utilize social media because it's free, and win.
There it is.
And that's everywhere you're at. I don't care where you are. That's
man. Great job, gentlemen. I appreciate you all being on, giving your time. I appreciate everybody who's been out here commenting and hitting the like, the subscribe button, and sharing. I mean, it is greatly appreciated. This is an example right here, what we're doing today. We came together and we're having a conversation. You know what I'm saying? We're not slinging mud or nothing. We're having a conversation from different angles. And this is what we can do as people. And I definitely appreciate the support as well, of the show and everything that's being done. Very thankful. Great example. And before we get out of here, don't forget, check out Lamont E. Thomas, IMG Academy. If you're out here, coaches, players, parents, you heard it first from someone who's out there. Reach out. There's people out here wanting to support. And so it's there. And speaking of support Lamont E. Thomas, Ash and Smoke Cigars. The number is 518 518-61-CIGAR. 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 Ash and Smoke Cigars. Lamont E. Thomas. Infused cigars, gift sets, gift box purses, accessories, and more. So check out Ash and Smoke Cigars. 518-61-CIGAR. What's that number, LT?
518-612-4427. 518-612-4427. 518.
Do you have a web presence, LT? LT,
You know that number.
a web presence?
Say again.
Do you have a website, a web presence too?
Yes.
Oh, website.
AndSmokeCigars.com.
Appreciate it.
And there it is. We got it right there. www.ashandsmokecigars.com.
We
All
got
right,
to get LT around a couple more times because there's some more stuff, especially when we do our recruiting. I don't know how much he can get into that part, but we got to get him around for recruiting.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. LT.
You said something about
Decide
recruiting?
how everybody. Yeah, we got to get you around when we start doing recruiting shows for the college football podcast.
You see that board over there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Those are standards for recruiting. Those are my recruiting standards. In different conferences, for every track event there is, my kids are like, I want to go to this school. All right, well, you running these times, jumping these distances, throwing this far, jumping this high. If you're not, find a different conference.
Oh yeah, and for those that don't know, LT is the track and field, I guess, head coach or
The director. He's the director of track and field over there
at IMG Academy. So the man knows what he's talking about when it comes to track and field. And I always tell people this: speed translates. It translates to every other sport. So trust me, the man knows what he's talking about. Whether it's if you find a basketball player that can jump out of the gym, he can run. If you find a football player with exceptional 40 times in the feet, he can run. So the man knows what he's talking about when we start talking about in town.
All right. And yes, Jason is absolutely right. Please don't forget the thumbs up. Everyone, please, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please take that second to hit that thumbs up for us.
Jason, appreciate that.
All right. All right. Well, for Coy, for Lamont, I'm Mr. 411. We thank everybody for watching, listening, sharing, thumbs up, subscribing, all that good stuff. And everyone have a great rest of your Sunday. And we'll see everybody on the other side.
Have a great one. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate
have
you,
a good
brothers.
one. All right. We out.